Welcome to Wrecked Roulette, where the name of the game is that you get to guess whether we're sober, drunk, or high. Courtney's away tonight, so it's just Deb today. Tonight I got to chat with two very talented writers and musicians, Cullam and Annalise, of the new musical Daystreamer. It's a virtual musical, part done over Zoom, part filmed on camera. Very funny, very well done. Definitely check it out. They're releasing a new episode about every month. They also have a Patreon for additional content. Check out all of the ways to connect with them in the show notes. Cullam and Annalise are joining us here from Newfoundland, and I'm very happy to have them on the podcast. Let's start the podcast. Hey, welcome to Wrecked Roulette, where the name of the game is the audience has to guess whether we're sober, drunk, or high. Today's guests are the two of the cast members and creators of Daystreamer, a physically distant musical. So this is Cullam and Annalise. I don't know where I'm pointing. You guys were really good at that, though. Like that wine pouring thing that you did. How many takes did you have to do to get that right?
I did about 12 takes on my end, and I got to tell you, that came from a box of wine that was bad. Like, it was not good wine.
Yeah.
It was as soon as I opened it, first time I poured it, I was like, that is a really like vinegary wine. But the very last glass that I had was what I poured for that one. And by the time I actually drank it, it was very well aerated because I poured it and funneled it back into the bottle 13 times. By the time I actually drank it at that point, it was all right. I was like, you know what? That really took the vinegary edge off this.
Yeah, well, there's that.
Even 13 takes in, I still wasn't quite super happy with the alignment, but man, it was a hard shot.
No, it was so cool. I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like, yeah, I thought that was really cool. To the audience, they just came out with their first episode today, so you can check that out on YouTube. I'll put the link in the show notes. So what were your inspirations for working on this project?
Well, the idea started when Annalise was over, and we were watching Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog. Now, that's been around for a while. That's not something I'd seen it many times before. But I actually wrote a musical, the music anyway, for a musical that my dad wrote the script and lyrics for back in high school. And since then, I've never done anything like that again because I've been too busy, even in bands, occasionally writing my own songs. But I really don't have time to even be in musicals these days, let alone even try to write one again. But we were watching that, and I was like, see, that's the thing I maybe try doing again one day. Write a small musical, not like a great big 3-hour long thing, but like something really small. Keep the scope tiny.
Because 12 episodes is tiny.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you.
It didn't go as planned. It got bigger as we worked on it, so that was an error. That was a mistake. So the common problem I have is when I do stuff, I'm gonna go full hog and not hold back, which oops. So yeah. And basically it was the start of the plague years. Here in Newfoundland, we just started having double bubbles allowed. We were allowed to have your household and one other household that you can hang out with. So Annalise and I were in a double bubble together. And of course, usually I play at a bunch of bands and stuff. I'm in 7 or 8 right now. I don't know. I can't even keep track.
Holy crap.
And all the gigs disappeared. I've played one show since last March.
Yeah, well, it's so weird going from like gigging all the time to just like nothing.
What really sucks, and just bad timing, but 2 weeks we were going to be leaving for Mexico to go play a show down there, like full expenses paid, being paid to fly down. We were so excited for it, and it's like, yeah, that's not a good idea. March 2020, man. You can't fly places.
I know.
So when all that went
stuck
away
in Mexico, actually.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Oh. How long was he down there for?
Just a few weeks, but it kind of sucked. He couldn't really.
That is a harrowing few weeks.
Yeah. I was gonna ask. So this isn't your first musical, Cullam. You've done a bunch of others.
I've written the music for one other when I was 17.
But you haven't did you make it yet?
Oh yeah. We put it off in high school, my theater class.
Oh, cool.
It wasn't great, but I was 17.
Yeah.
I had very little songwriting experience. We managed to make it happen, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Like just any sort of accomplishment like that, like creating art and just putting it out there. Good on you.
I did learn some things, which is helpful.
So when did you start working on this project?
This project I started working on about 14 months ago, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's been really fun actually on Facebook the last couple months, seeing like, hey, memories from last year, all my like progress updates as I was just starting it, saying, I got an idea. Maybe I'll work on this idea. Maybe I'll write this idea. No, I'm totally stuck on this idea. This idea is terrible. Actually, hold on. Maybe it'll work. Like a lot of very self-doubting. Well, we'll see what happens. This is going nowhere, but I'm going to try anyway. And then a year later, at the time I was getting ready to release the first episode, like, well, guess we kept going on that.
And you are the cast like your friends or kind of bandmates?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's cool.
of the 4 main cast members, I mean, so Cullam started writing the thing and then we finally started workshopping it. And workshopping was literally just, hey, are you available in 20 minutes to read through this? We've never seen it before. But everyone you had for the very first read through was friends of yours.
Yeah.
And then Harry, who plays Charlie, was actually from a workshop you did specifically with people who were not your friends, who would give you perhaps more honest feedback.
Exactly.
And hadn't by the time you did the outside workshop and found Harry, we had read through these things multiple times. So it was good to have a pair of outside eyes just to see how things were going.
Yeah.
Now, Annalise, you play drums in the musical. Do you actually play drums?
No, not at all. No. So it's funny because in some ways I'm like closest to Alexandra in that my job actually is music, because I teach music history at the university, but I'm a singer and pianist and I don't play drums at all. So it's kind of convenient that Alexandra's just leaving it all in the studio and I can just pretend and hold sticks every once in a while. And I should learn a little bit more, but.
Did you guys get real drums for the musical?
Well, Cullam has drums in his house.
Yeah, did you record?
For the recording?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, nice. Because a lot of people just go with the drum track. And,
no.
Yeah, that's cool.
So my friend Rob is producing, who
yeah.
And so yeah, he's recorded the drum parts and the bass parts and all that, and as well as done all the orchestrations and stuff. So all the orchestral parts, those are all MIDI. But for drums, no, we went live with that, with the drums, piano, and guitars, all that stuff.
That's awesome. The drums sound really solid.
Yeah.
So, like, what support from the community did you receive? I know you got like the bar scene, the office scene.
Yeah. So a few little things. One was, of course, as you mentioned, the donation of sets. So Stanley Steamers, aka the Bella Vista, is a local bar we've got that does great karaoke. And Harry, who plays Charlie, goes down there most Friday nights. He's tight with the owners. And so, yeah, they were like, yeah, you can come in sometime when we're closed and just use the bar, whatever. It's cool, man. So we got access to that. And then Erin, who plays Jessie, a friend of hers, has an accounting firm. She's like, well, that's convenient, as Jessie's supposed to own an accounting firm. So we're going to wander in there one Saturday and just run around and set up shots and, do what we can. And then we also got a beer sponsorship from Kitty Vitty Brewery, which is awesome.
Cool.
So it means we got to have the beer we drink on set provided for us.
Amazing. So like it's not prop beer, it's actual beer.
Oh yeah. we're so used to actually drinking while we don't run the rehearsals for this thing that we're just it feels weird to do the parts with like an empty glass. Like, what? No, this is not good.
I mean, there's definitely a few times where it's like we had to be careful when filming because you're doing multiple takes. And so you're drinking throughout all of these takes. And we decided Alexandra was just like going to drink hard liquor all the time. So by the time I get to a 5th take, it's just like, I really have to get this one right or else it's not going to happen ever. Because yeah, you actually convincingly need to drink whiskey and it's not like I'm going to pour it out. So
yeah, I do all the editing, so means I get to see all the footage where like people are sending me all the raw stuff. At some point, once I have enough of it, I'm gonna throw together a gag reel. But there's definitely a couple takes where Annalise will be like, okay, this is my 5th Manhattan. This has got to be the last take. Like,
tell me your drunk stories. Please tell me the drunk behind the scenes stories.
I mean, so it's more just the drunk hanging out. I'm not sure if there's anything that stands out as just like this one time someone just like got totally off the wall. And that's partially because when we were doing all this drinking, we were alone. For parts of this, where we were, the time I'm talking about in particular is when we were filming the actual song, and that's the one we were all doing it on our own, and I just kept drinking. And it's, as Cullam says, he'll have rambling monologues where I just talk about what I'm going to do for 2 minutes and then send him a 30-second clip. So it's not so much a story, just such as it'll be good blooper reel.
There was at least one rehearsal where Harry ended up drinking more than he thought he had and taking and smoking a lot more weed than he realized he had.
Oh my god!
So, and we're doing like a planning rehearsal for that once. Really come up with ideas what to do next. He's like, "So I've got an idea." We're like, "I don't think you do, actually." And he's like, "No, I don't think I do. I'll get back to you."
Yeah. But fun things happen from those moments. Like I am 100% convinced that if you're going to, act drunk, you should get drunk while doing the scene at least once. Like the classic, like If I Rebel from Guys and Dolls is just like, if I was to ever do that show, it's just like, you're going to have like 2 shots of whiskey right before rehearsal. So you can like feel what it is like to be drunk and do this.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of show.
That's cool. I'm kind of interested because like you do a lot of shots like singing in different locations. I want to know kind of behind the scenes. How do you kind of put that together? Do you play the music while you're kind of lip syncing?
Yeah, so there's 2 things we do for these. So all the group dialogue shots are actually filmed live simultaneously. So we get on a Zoom call like this.
You did do a Zoom call?
Yeah, we actually do them through Zoom. But
amazing!
Rather than taking whatever Zoom footage we get, we're actually all separately recording our own camera.
Yeah, so you all look crystal clear.
Right, and so then I get the camera footage together after the fact and put it together. For the first episode, that was really tough because we had to do everything in single takes. Because everyone's on screen at the same time. It's really, really hard to do cuts without it being really, really obvious that I've done some shenanigree of, everyone suddenly freezes at the same time. Yeah. So those we actually just try and get like a clean shot. But like the first scene, which is just Dave and Prendergast, where that was a shot reverse shot was cutting back and forth. That one we were able to do a few takes live, and then I can do some cutting and editing. For the songs, though, you can't synchronize music over the internet. It's just it's not fast enough. Yeah. So yeah, we pre-recorded the music. We got everyone in the studio to sing the songs. Brought people in sort of one at a time, did their parts. And then when we were doing either on location or straight into the cell phone shots, we'd have someone rolling the sound. You hear the song going. We wouldn't just lip sync it because it never looks good. It doesn't come across well. But we would sing it live. Yeah. But you wouldn't actually use that audio track. You just throw it away and and put it all together.
Yeah, when we were filming our music video for Black Eve, the crew kind of didn't think it through how we were going to play the track because as soon as the drums kick in, you can't hear the track. So we're like, crap. We did all this planning, costumes, like written out a script, gotten the film crew, but no one thought about the sound. So when I'm playing the drums, like I'm barely hitting them because no one could hear the track. So like one person commented, they're like, "Oh, that drummer." I'm like, dude, I know. Like I'm barely hitting the cymbals. Like I'm just gonna like do do do.
Yeah, you need inners to do a.
Yeah. We didn't own them at the time, so yeah, it just. And we were out in the woods. It's not like we could just go to a music store or like go home.
You can't just go fucking rent them.
Yeah, we were like 3 hours away from the house, so that was a little disastrous, but it worked out in the end.
That's funny.
Just not the drums. The drums are cool.
The drums looked silly.
Yeah, they look silly. I'm glad only one person noticed that. Or at least like commented on it.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I'm glad you guys thought of that. That's really cool that you did it all on the Zoom call. So did you when you were doing the wine scene, did you have like her below you so you could kind of see?
So anything with the songs we're doing with music, we're doing it on our own. But it means what I was doing is I was playing the video that she had taken. as well as I could see myself, and I could see like how they line up. Because of course when you see yourself on Zoom, you're reversed. So it means I couldn't actually line them up together visually. I had to be like, all right, she's there, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
If I go to 1/3 of the screen and 1/3 of my screen, that should be the same, which means I got the orientation of the bottle wrong, but it would have been hard to do it left-handed anyway, so whatever.
That's awesome.
And yeah,
That's
just
awesome.
over and over again, pouring it into a bowl on my lap that I'm trying not to spill too much wine on myself while I'm dumping this wine out into a bowl with funneling it back into the bottle on repeat.
But you ended up with good wine, so it was worth it.
I ended up with drinkable
$5
wine.
bottle
It was
wine
pissed when it
$40.
started, so...
Yeah. I mean, it was a very interesting process to do the music videos because, of course, like myself and Cullam and Aaron all have a fair amount of like stage experience.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, this stage is very different from showing up at your location and you have a 2-hour block to basically stage the whole thing, to block it out and then run it and practice it and film it. And like to get that into your body and put out a good product in that amount of time is actually a humongous challenge, especially when all of us are flying by the seat of our pants and we just, you know, kiboshed my partner into being our videographer. So it's like, we don't have the tools. So like when we were filming Harry's scene at Stanley's, and it's like, it's really dark in there. And so it's like, how can we make the light as best as possible to do this? And chatting with Sean, my partner, and it's like, so if you were going to redo one thing, he's like, I would get in there and somehow find a way to get more light in there.
Mm-hmm.
And so just those little things where we're all still learning, like how to actually make things look good. What do we actually need to sort of make this, you know, this isn't just us hanging out. We're putting some effort and some professionalism into it. So there's a lot of, it's been a very massive learning curve for all of us in a good way.
The whole thing is so very homemade, but at the same time, like we're all so absorbed and involved in theater and music and stuff that we don't want it to come across looking, you know, really amateur. We want it to look as professional as possible. We know what that should look like. So we end up sitting here and be like, all right, we have to learn this real fast. How do we do this well?
I heard that people click away within the first like 30 seconds of like a YouTube video in general, and you have to hook them super fast. I think you did that really well because I was hooked when I first saw it, so I'm proud of you guys.
Thank you. It was certainly for that first episode a very conscious choice to be like, all right, that little opening montage of the piano, that's cool, get it done quick, get it right into the scene. Phil Goodrich is a local professional actor who's well known around here, so we got him in to do Prendergast right away. Like, all right, Phil, engage us. Just suck everyone in with your gravitas and your personality.
Now that you've done this, once things start to open up again, do you think you're going to write another musical for stage or anything like that?
I could certainly see trying it someday. At some point. If that was the case, I'd absolutely want to have a production company involved and not just be something I was doing myself. I can't, like this, the way we're doing it here, I mean, we'll probably not get the kind of audience we would love to get because just the nature of things. But at least it's out there and it can be found and exists for years to come. Whereas if we wrote it and we put on a small show at a stage, it would take just as much effort and it would only exist for that weekend, and then as a low quality video that someone took from the audience, and that'd be the end of it. That would be all that ever existed of that product.
Yeah, but you could also invest in its film crew though.
True, but I feel like to try and just get it onto an actual stage, we'd want someone who actually knew what they were doing to do a lot of the jobs that I'm currently wearing the hats for.
Yeah. So I want to know a little bit more about like who else was behind the scenes of this. Like, did you have like
no one,
no crew, just kind of
mostly, So this Brandon is someone who's helping out, who's got some experience directing plays and stuff. He hasn't really taken on the role of director here because he hasn't been available for a lot of the shoots, but he's been coming to a lot of rehearsals and like being the person sitting there taking notes and saying, all right, loved this delivery, that didn't work, you should try this differently. So he's really helped us with the acting and trying to just have that another set of eyes who isn't concentrating on their own performance, look at the whole thing and try and help guide the scene.
So you guys were mostly just directing yourselves.
Yeah.
And
That's cool.
it was a really great group for everyone being able to give and take honest feedback. As Cullam was saying, it's if you're all four of you in a scene, it's very hard to concentrate on what anyone else is doing. So having someone there sometimes to just point out why are there beer bottles when it's 9 a.m. like that shouldn't be there, or that line was great, but this line didn't work. It's just having someone there to point that out. You can't do that for yourself. So we've been really good, I think, about not having egos in that sense, and just being able to say things honestly about how we think things are going and no one getting offended about it. Cullam is wearing a lot of hats. We're starting to try and remind him that he can disperse some of those hats a little bit, especially now that things are getting to go. So like, as we were going into this first episode, we were all sort of like, so who is going to be doing what moving forward? Especially coming into the first episode when social media is such a big way we're going to get this out, and actually having someone coordinate that for that to all be on Cullam is basically a full-time job. So Erin, who plays Jessie, has officially become our social media coordinator, I believe. That's the title we gave her. And I think Harry is going to be our continuity guy? What did we assign Harry?
He's in charge of continuity now, so we don't make any more mistakes for realize we left the beer bottles from the last scene in the next scene.
Harry, I don't know him as well, so I don't know all of his stage history, but has this really keen eye for looking at scenes and like pointing out all these like tiny little details that really help polish. Which this first episode we were like, we just don't have the time to reshoot this, but will be really good to have that moving forward. And it's really exciting to think about how things will sort of shift and come together as we get more familiar with doing this. Because
and so much has been a learning process. So like, I'm doing the editing. It's one of the like, I don't know, 12 hats I'm wearing. And I've already learned a bunch more about the editing program I've used. I've used it for several of the parody music videos and my own songs and stuff, but nothing like this complicated.
Yeah.
So I've already learned a bunch of new things with the workflow of that. But like, cool, next time I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to do this instead, because ways to make life easier.
What program do you use?
Hit Film Express.
Hit Film. Okay, I've never heard of that one.
It's a free program, but it's a powerful editing tool. For anything we want to do, it's well more than we need. And I don't need to do any of the really fancy like digital effects that it can also do. So yeah, it's good enough for what I'm doing.
Yeah, I'm just so curious about all this stuff. I'm actually releasing my own web series. We're starting to film Monday. So
exciting.
Pretty excited about that. And I'm like you, like I'm wearing a lot of hats, like directing, acting, writing, editing, doing all the lighting, things like that. So
I can sympathize.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just gonna be like such a task. But you give me hope. So
are you filming like in person, like live?
Like what do you mean? Like
well, we had the benefit as soon as you're talking about lighting, like literally Cullam either bought us or you're living with a photographer and they have the lights already, and it was literally like stick lights on stick in room and your lighting is done. But you say like you're doing lighting yourself and everything, so I'm wondering like how big of a set and how big of a crew is your show going to have?
So we have about 6 actors and a 1 camera guy, and I'm the rest of the crew. I just got a PA who's just doing it for experience, because he's never done that sort of stuff before. I'm like, make sure everyone's hitting their lines and standing in the right spot, things like that. But yeah, being a photographer, I'm able to kind of control the light. I know how it's going to bounce off people. So I'm doing a lot of that stuff. The set is the size. It's our master bedroom in the house, but it's like way bigger than a living room. And that's going to be the apartment set. The rest of the stuff is outdoors, but it's mainly in that apartment on a couch or by the bar.
So it's happening in your bedroom?
Yes, converted the entire bedroom into a little apartment.
And because this is very relevant to our interests and the sort of experience we've been having, does that mean that that bedroom is just walled off as it's the set now until the show is done, or
Yeah, my place is such a mess. You can see like behind me, I have to keep all this stuff in different rooms, and so it's like a little bit of a mess right now. Trying to put it together.
the dining room.
We're also in the
my
process
house.
of moving, so I have
Oh,
to get
okay.
it done by September.
So, but you're gonna be done before you move, right? 'Cause
Yeah, so I'm
otherwise you
like,
got a real
I want
problem.
to hire Toronto actors, get it done, and then before we move to Windsor, because like the acting scene isn't as big there. So that, and he had a smaller space to work with. Like we have such a large room to work with here. I might as well take advantage of it while we have it.
Of course.
Yeah. So I was just like, let's get this show on the road. Let's just do it. And yeah, as long as we're out by September 1st, we're good.
For our show, to my partner's chagrin, our dining room is now Dave's office.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, it's a permanent set up there, and nothing in there moves.
And it's gonna be for like a year.
Yeah, and it's gonna be that way for a year. So
and like, and all of these little continuity things we're learning about now. So, for example, in the first episode, I had my hair not too far away from what it is right now, and then it's like, oh shit, I have to like somehow replicate exactly what I did, just like randomly shoving my hair on top of my head for another scene where it's supposed to be the very next moment. And then Harry was like, I'm going to film at a friend's house. And it's just like, this is not sustainable for a year. So it's just like,
no.
Hey, so I'm moving. Charlie.
Yeah, it's funny when like this person's hair will be like behind their head and then back over their shoulders, things like that.
Oh man.
Yeah, based on scenes. Like I see that all the time.
I'm looking for
I
ways
pick up
to
on
cut
things
that
like that though. Yeah.
Well, so it's funny. Annalise mentioned one of those next moment scenes. So in the episode, when you see it cut when the song starts, and the lighting changes, and you can see everyone sort of fades from one to another. So because we weren't doing that straight through, we don't have an actual like lighting cue where when the song starts, the lights come up. What we have is we filmed the scene up to the song. We filmed the scene after the song, same day. And then sometime later, each of us individually filmed our parts in the song, which meant we all just start in whatever position we started with as the song started.
Yeah.
With the lights, now with like the colored lights on to make it look like this is not diegetic. This is a stage. And you're trying to be like in the right spot, but like, okay, that's where I am. Yeah. How have you been? What? And then of course trying to get it to come back to the end, but not make it look like a freeze frame. So you don't want to like go back to your last pose and wait. You want to like organically end up back in your last position, so that the fade, you'll see the fade. Of course, you'll see that it changed one layer, but we don't want it to change from like you're here and then fade. You're here.
Yeah.
That's
look at least sort of stuff.
Fudge it.
Have a PA around for that.
Yeah.
So you're
make Charlie do that.
So you're saying that it's gonna take a year to finish this project. Are you doing it like each week, or are you filming
monthly.
one a month?
Yeah, there's too much work to do it weekly. Because we have to record the songs. Now, we work ahead of schedule on this. So the second song is mostly recorded, except for the fact that I went crazy and decided to do like a massive full company-wide Zoom call. So we have like a 12-person Zoom choir and stuff. And oh god,
oh cool.
I have regrets about the amount of production involved with this one, but yeah, it's gonna be huge. It's gonna be nuts.
Yeah.
But for the most part, so we've got most of the scenes in episode 2 filmed. There's a few things we have to do, and we have to film the video stuff for the song. And we've got the song basically recorded, so it's off being mixed and waiting on the choir parts now. Which means at present we're already working on rehearsing for episode 3, which we've previously run various times, but of course I keep rewriting it, so we keep having to go back and work on it some more. But right now, like, we don't actually even have the whole series written. It's half written, and I know the storyline for the rest of it, but I haven't actually finished all the scripts yet, because, well, originally we figured, okay, let's remember that small scope we talked about having and totally failing to meet. That was hey, I'll write like an episode or 2 of this, maybe shoot it, see if it's fun, and so we go from there. And then we got way too into it, had too much fun with it, and we're hard committed now, but I haven't actually finished writing it.
Yeah, what's hard about writing is like you'll write something, and then like every day you're like, oh, this is shit. I'm gonna change this. Every single day, my script has completely done a 180 of what it was supposed to be. It was way raunchier initially, and now it's more serious. I have everything written, and we're gonna shoot it all at once, and then I'll do all the editing and things like that, so I can have it out by like hopefully October,
Nice.
but probably more like November because
Because reality.
it's a lot. I have to compose the music or
Mm.
get someone to help me all that stuff.
That's actually been one of the hardest things in this show is composing the background music.
Yeah, that's
'Cause-
something I've never tried before. I have some stock stuff that I might plunk in, but
so I've done like film composition before for a few
Yeah.
things.
Oh, yeah.
It's been fine. I've done a bit of that. That's good. The problem is this is a musical.
mhm,
So the music can't just kind of like be there to do a thing.
mhm.
The music has to mean something. Like you have to make
Mm.
choices with the music. It can't just kind of like, sure. There's some sadness. Do a sad piano. Like no. Take a theme. What are you trying to say? What song are you trying to evoke here? Which
Mhm.
means I mean, I've got notebooks where I'm going through like lyric by lyric and line by line, going, that line on its own is like, that's a theme. That's a statement. That's the thing we want to repeat, which means if I'm going to do some background music, maybe come up with some little composition that's based on this one melody from this one line and this one song.
Yeah.
But oh my God, that's a lot of work to like for the thing that happens after you're done filming everything and like, all right, last thing to do before we release is put in some background music. Oh crap, I have to really think this through. And
Yeah. I have no idea what the editing process is going to be like for mine, but like I'm so glad I'm talking to you guys because like you guys are going through it right now, and I'm curious to see how things are gonna kind of work out for me as well. So yeah,
it's
give yourself lots of time for the first episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what we have to do. We've been working on the first episode for like 3 months. We're expecting to the second episode will be out in another month or so from now. So, but fortunately, we have a lot of that stuff done, and it'll go faster.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and even some things you don't even like think about learning. So we had everyone sing their solos, and I, went to Cullam after we had actually filmed mine and said, we need to redo the whole thing because it doesn't actually match the music, what we actually acted out. And so that was one of those instances for me where it was partially the process based, where because I have exclusively done stage acting before this, and there's a director, you just sort of have that like weeks of rehearsal to like embody what you want to do and the physicality and the whole, like, I guess we'll try this thing that we're going to do in the studio. And again, like 20 minutes for blocking and then just practice and film. Mm-hmm. And so it was a very interesting thing for me to realize that just like, what I'm doing physically in this space and what we actually emerged with as a visual doesn't match at all what the music is saying. Mm-hmm. And that was something really interesting for me to just find that I'd never experienced that before because it had always sort of like happened gradually in a musical, and in a musical where it's like, there's the stage, that's the only place you are. Mm-hmm. And when it was here in this space where suddenly on film and you can essentially do anything, it was really interesting for me to sort of reframe how I'm approaching, my role as an actor, because all of us need to contribute to this because we don't have officially a director, mm-hmm. To really take the time to think methodically about what it should look like and then own that a little bit. Mm-hmm. So Cullam was very patient and let me redo that.
Who's working the camera?
Oh, that's my partner, Sean.
Nice.
He is a photographer here in St. John's and has done a lot of like video shoots and everything for local music shows around town. So you can find him on Instagram and Facebook and see some of his pictures. Just did a show at the Rock House last weekend, like one of the first shows that actually re-emerged post-pandemic here in St. John's.
That's amazing.
So we bring him in basically to help us plot shoots and then to actually man the camera so all of the solo shots in the different locations were all done by him.
Mm-hmm. But then all of the shots that are just people talking into cameras, which is the majority of the show, are just us with a cell phone and a tripod in front of us. Because that was one of the inspirations for this show when I came up with it in the first place, is how do I find something that realistically I can do right now? Mm-hmm. I mean, the tagline is a physically distant musical, and we mean it. Because things have been because Newfoundland has done so well during the pandemic, we've been able to see people a lot. It means we've been able to actually get together and do some of this stuff. Mm-hmm. But the script was all written on the assumption we wouldn't be able to, and that we'd be able to film it even if we couldn't ever be in the same room together. Mm-hmm. It's nice that we can be in the same room together. Let's do things better, and we're going to take advantage of that. Yeah. But the whole thing was staged as, I didn't go to film school. I don't know how to block a shot, how to make something look good. So we're like, all right, well, I'm going to come up with an idea that can be staged as Zoom calls, where everyone's just like,
Yeah.
well, they're sitting in a room talking to a camera. What? That's what the film language says.
Yeah.
And frankly, I'm not sure. I mean, again, not all of the episodes are written, but a lot of it will probably. This was the sort of most craziest exploratory because we're like reflecting back on the beginning of the pandemic, whereas in the next episode, our musical is again the Zoom chorus, where everyone is just sitting in their offices as we are now, and then we're going to start having, you know, streams of music where either Cullam or myself will be like plunking around on our piano, where it's like it's just our house.
Mhm.
So there's not going to be a lot of crazy fantastical forays
Mhm.
Well,
quite as far afield.
I'd say a lot of the songs will go a little bigger, because the idea in a musical, by and large, is usually the people in the world of the show aren't actually hearing singing. They're just talking, having a conversation, listening to this guy pitch why musical instruments are the best thing since sliced bread, whatever. But like usually the idea isn't that you actually hear music. It's
Mhm.
that's conceit for the audience. So for us, it means that when we're doing this sort of stuff, we want the Zoom calls to look like this, and we're all sitting there talking to each other.
Yeah.
But you want the songs then to sort of like break away from the computer and be like, cool, this isn't reality. In reality, Dave's just telling Charlie and Alexandra all about why he bought a piano, blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
But we're presenting that as a song, and therefore Dave's gonna put in a top hat and tap dance and do whatever else because it's a musical.
Yeah.
So for those things, that's where we'd really like the camera to come alive more. But again, I'm not actually a filmmaker. I'm not even a scriptwriter. So this has been a lot of new stuff for me. So those are the places where it's great to have someone like Sean who knows how to shoot very well.
Yeah.
And then hopefully then as a collaborative project between him, us, whoever else is there, we can figure out how are we gonna make this look to try and sell this, to make the film language, if you will, come alive when it's music time, because it's a song. It should now look like something more than a Zoom call.
Yeah, awesome. And Annalise, you said you have a lot of stage experience. How long have you been acting?
So I mean, I started acting, you know, childhood, teen, all that kind of stuff. I ended up doing a lot of Gilbert and Sullivan, partially because that's what was around when I was doing my undergrad. And then when I was doing my doctorate, I ended up working with and eventually leading a theater company down in Ithaca, New York, that did a combination of Gilbert and Sullivan and then other musicals. So Gilbert and Sullivan is great. We don't do it here in St. John's for whatever reason, which is very sad. Maybe not the Mikado, but there's so many good songs. So that's my pitch for Gilbert and Sullivan. But like we did Drood, where the audience gets to choose the ending of the musical. They get to choose who the murderer is.
Oh, cool.
And like we did Candide with Bernstein, and like some really, really fun pieces. So the most recent thing I did here in St. John's was Matilda with Peter McDonald Productions. And then the pandemic hit, and then I started doing this. But I actually teach the musical theater classes at MUN as well. So that is pretty fun, and get to work with all of these students who are very, very excited and very knowledgeable about musicals. So, you know, trying to not get super, super academic right now, but it's really fun. And,
You have your doctorate in theater?
I have my doctorate in music history.
Oh, cool.
So technically my doctorate is in opera, but there's a very fine line and arguably stupid line between opera and musical theater. So,
Yeah.
I mean, people erase the line wherever they want. I mean, if we're by every metric of opera versus musical theater, Phantom of the Opera is an opera. But a lot of people are like, no, it's not an opera. It's not good enough to be an opera. And we get into all of these
There's a guitar. You can't have a guitar in opera. Plus, it made money.
I know, that's awful. You just get into all these classist distinctions about what is high art and what is middle brow and what is low art. And that is an enduring characteristic when it comes down to it, that a whole bunch of snobs think that musical theater isn't good enough, because people are like, well, they talk in musical theater. It's like, well, there's operas by Mozart where they talk too. So
what about Les Mis?
Also, they don't talk
time.
in lots of musicals.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't talk in Les Mis. They don't talk in Hamilton.
Yeah.
They don't talk in Jesus Christ Superstar. Like lots of musicals. I mean, Jesus Christ Superstar is billed as a rock opera.
Yeah.
Because it's an opera.
That argument has
with
no
guitars.
legs to stand on.
Yeah, it becomes so personal about, and arguably the thing we can say is that the biggest difference is in the production. Who is producing them and how are they being financed? Because the finance model for a musical is very different than it is for an opera. So that could be potentially the most important distinction between musicals and operas, truthfully, one could argue. But musical distinctions break down pretty quickly as soon as you look at, not even into the fringe, just away from the dead center.
As soon as you go going outside of aesthetics, you're like,
Yeah.
On technical merits, they're all.
I mean, opera on the Avalon just did Phantom of the Opera pre-pandemic, so.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. Yeah, it's one of my favorites for sure. Yeah, there's definitely more substance to certain musicals.
Well, sure, but like that's true of
the
most
Magic
forms of
Flute
art.
probably trumps, Legally Blonde.
Oh, I mean, Magic Flute is, oh gosh, I'm gonna just geek out here. So Magic Flute is a really, really weird opera where, I mean, it's full of all this Masonic imagery because Mozart was being funded by the Masons at the end of his life. We now consider him a very popular composer, but of course he was in severe financial troubles by the end of his life. So the Masons are all over the Magic Flute in terms of, the brotherhood and the symbols that appear. But it's this really weird opera where it starts off in your classic rescue opera where, a woman is like, please rescue my daughter who's been kidnapped. And he's like, I will go do this for you. She's like, here's the magic tools to go do that. And it's like, cool. And then suddenly he arrives and it's like, that woman is a terrible human being. You shouldn't have believed her. And he's just like, okay, I guess she was evil this whole time. And suddenly the entire plot shifts. And who was a good, virtuous woman is now the devil, and all sorts of misogyny and terrible things. So people like to argue that, yes, the meaning of Mozart operas are really deep and important. And don't get me wrong, I love Mozart. But to say that that is more important and more deep than musicals,
I was just
getting in trouble for musical Twitter.
I was just comparing it to maybe like something like Legally Blonde or something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
that's less of a difference of one is more important than the other and more of an individual instance. Some movies are deeper than other movies.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots
some books are deeper than other books.
There's so many really comic operas.
It's also relative too, because like someone could be really touched by a certain musical. It could change their life.
Oh, absolutely.
Students find it all the time.
I mean, just throwing my own musical theater nerdness into the ring. What got me into musicals? Cats.
Yeah.
Now, is Cats a great musical? Is Cats one of the like really highbrow, high art musicals? No. It's a fun show about dancing cats with some catchy songs, and it's and a book of poetry by T.S. Eliot that was, wasn't really poetry so much, it was just a fun thing for kids.
Yeah.
And it became this incredibly big selling musical. But man, for a 3-year-old, that's a really good show for kids.
Yeah.
Which is fine. And when I was 3, like I could sing Growl Tiger start to finish, except for I couldn't the Italian opera bits. I didn't know Italian. I was 3, but I could sing the English lyrics from literally start to finish. They just stopped me at preschool and like, all right, who wants to sing a song? You're going to sing Zippity Doodah. You're going to sing the alphabet. Oh God, Cullam standing up. He's going to sing 5.5 minutes of Growl Tiger start to finish. Stop it. It can't happen.
There is something about that musical that is very appealing to kids. And this is like something Cullam and I shared because I also was obsessed with cats, to the point where very embarrassingly now I like lip synced Memory at our like school lip sync competition when I was in grade 1, and like had 2 friends behind me like playing with cat toys on the stage, and they literally just cut it off at some point. And it's just like...
So was that better or worse than the movie?
We haven't seen the movie yet, but one of these days at least we are getting drunk and watching it.
I'm not sure, like if I want to,
we have to get
drunk
something
or high watching
one
it.
of them.
Getting high might scare me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
We are altering our state of consciousness in one way or another when you're watching that damn movie.
My
God, we should have a watch
teacher
party.
Was convinced I was like actually singing Memory for years. She actually asked me to sing at her wedding later on.
Oh wow.
And I am a good singer, so it was fine.
She got ahead of the game, right? She got in early.
Oh man. But yeah, I mean, there's so many musicals today that really dig into important emotions, especially for whether I'm millennial or whatever, but like Gen Z, as we'll throw out the term. I mean, you talk about, Dear Evan Hansen, Next to Normal, and all of these musicals that are really starting to deal with these issues of mental well-being, of belonging, of sexual and gender identity, and these students that I have are deeply connecting to these pieces. They are certainly not just fluffy things to laugh at. They are meaningful to them and who they are as people. And so I think that's true of all art. I mean, there is so much opera out there that is nothing but fluff. And because opera scholars, less so now, but in the past, could be very protective of the sophistication, they tended to downplay all of the fluff. One of the ways I summarize my dissertation to people is this, like, everyone likes to talk about Netflix for like House of Cards and all these prestige shows, but there's a whole lot of Love Island and Nailed It on Netflix as well. And it's important that we understand that opera has its Nailed It and Love Islands as much as it has its House of Cards. Because it's part of what people are watching. And I think it does all of us a disservice to only care about the prestige stuff when we just crave fluffy entertainment too.
Yeah. The classic example is Shakespeare was not prestige when it was written. Shakespeare was the art of the people. Shakespeare was, let's watch a really violent play.
Yeah, it was written for the masses.
We're gonna kill everyone on this cast.
Yeah. It wasn't necessarily written for like highbrow people at all. like nowadays.
It's got this doggerel comedy, and it's got this crazy violence over the top, and every once in a while
it's
an
the
incredible aside that beautifully notices something incredible about human nature. But shoved into the like, all right, back to the blood, we're gonna kill everyone. Shakespeare was popular. Shakespeare was for the people. It was meant to be like lowbrow street. Not quite street theater, but like it was trying to bring the streets into the theater.
What did you think of Bo Burnham's self musical?
Loved it.
Like
it's like dangerous ideas.
When I saw yours, I kind of like I thought about his stuff.
Yeah, I can't be trusted with the ideas I got from it. Like we've got a nice projector screen out in the other room, and I'm like eyeballing my partner's like, no, you cannot take the projector screen, you cannot take the projector down to do your shots. I'm like, but no. So now I'm keeping an eye out on Kijiji for like a cheap, shitty projector, because you can do so much with lighting with that. But it sounds like I'm only talking about the technical stuff. That's just the stuff I can steal. I can't steal the artistic stuff because he's a genius and I can't do it. But I loved it. I thought it was really cool. I have no idea where the line between performance and reality is, and that's half the point of his stuff. Is he's making a big deal of like, is this a joke? Am I actually like having a mental health crisis? Is this all performance or not? Haha. But but haha. But and he's really, really good at deliberately blurring the lines. You can't even tell where it is between what's real and what's just a show. And I don't know. I thought it was a really, really cool piece of art.
I didn't know how to feel after I watched it. I was like, I think we all felt kind of. It made us all feel something. Yeah.
Felt something.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely saw probably ourselves in a lot of those performances. Yeah.
Well, we're so voyeuristic these days. I mean, YouTube and Instagram are built on showing us, if not a real version of someone's interior life, then some frame of their interior life. And we kind of get off on it these days. I mean, all of these people.
We're putting out a musical about it right now.
Exactly. And
to
so,
be seen.
I mean, it is this interesting line of, I just think our idea of our relationship to people who are providing entertainment has fundamentally shifted. We expect access to people these days. We expect to sort of have this window into the core of their being sometimes, to the point where we can be kind of upset and mad if we don't get it. And we're far more, there was an author on Twitter who was talking about how people would just like not even talk bad about her books, just like openly bash directly to her work. And like, yeah, you would understand how to do this if you weren't such a sucky writer. And it's just like, it's this interesting place we're at now where we expect to have immediate access. Performance is very much overlaid with reality, where we have actors who are shifting their bodies and arguably their minds in order to play a role, and we want that. And so it's interesting to think about where this performance, when we were all stuck inside, and him really tapping into the nature of his reality for this past year for our entertainment, what that says about what we want now.
Well, I find it particularly fascinating because I'm literally trying to do the same thing with this musical. Like, the theme of the show is about two things, really. It's about, so getting away from the pandemic, it is about, in general, artists' often toxic relationship with their own art. Like, that's a major theme. That's a thing I think about all the time. And that's, half the arguments that are happening in the show are arguments that I've had with myself, where I'm literally both sides of the argument. And I'd be like, right, well, you get my opinion on this side and you get my disagreeing opinion on this side. And now you're going to fight it out and no one's going to agree. And I'm going to write that. And that's just going to, that's going to let me work some shit out.
Yeah.
But the other thing that the show is about is people dealing with the adjustment of the lockdown. Yeah. This is not a show about COVID. Like, the fear of the virus is not really present in it anywhere, but it is a show about dealing with the adjustment. You're like, well, I haven't seen my friends and I really need to see my friends. Or for Alexandra, is the character that Annalise plays, in her case, it's like, great, my career that I've put a lot of time and effort and work and love into just disappeared. It's gone and I don't know what to do from here. The other two characters in the show, the other two main characters, I should say, one owns an accounting firm, the firm that my character works at. So for her, things are continuing, but it's really topsy-turvy. She feels responsibility to make sure she keeps her employees paid. Yeah. So she's just trying to desperately hold on to her business while everything suddenly changes. And then the fourth character in the show is a bartender. So for him, he's collecting CERB and he's like, yeah, it's not my fault. I didn't do this. I don't feel guilty about it. Yeah. But I'm on vacation and it's like, man, what I'm supposed to do is stay at home and not touch anyone. I'm doing that. I'm reading Calvin Hobbes and playing Animal Crossing. Like, yeah, dude. I mean, and
fine. There's a stigma about collecting CERB right now. It's just like, well, if I want to continue working in my field, I kind of have to wait till I can. And
in my opinion, anyway, the stigma shouldn't be there. Like, it's the reason that we put those subsidies out is so that people could stay the fuck home out of it. Yeah. So like, I've got a job where I was able to work from home, so I wasn't collecting CERB because I was able to work from home. Great. That's fine. But the people who were out working in the front lines, and my partner, who's a server at a restaurant, she was collecting CERB, as she should be, because we can't go to restaurants whenever this all started. Yeah. Like, that's a good system.
Yeah, we've been really angry at our premiere, who's just kind of like, oh, people should just get back to work. It's like, okay, some people are compromised. They can't do that.
A political show, but your premier's an asshole. So
yeah,
like, just an asshole.
Oh man,
like John Oliver did a bit on how much of an asshole he is.
Yeah. So I'm from Alberta.
Yeah, he's going international.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have Kenny out in Alberta, of course. So my family's all out there, and it's like, yeah, those two are just doing such a job.
Yeah, bang up job. Oh yeah, I get locked down. Yeah, someone made that song. That's not mine. I think you did a really good representation of like a lot of different and a lot of different people who are owning businesses or and can't work or have to work from home. Like, I think you kind of covered a lot of ground there. I think it's relatable to a lot of people, or pretty much everyone.
Thank you. That was the objective. So I'm glad to hear you think I did it well.
Yeah, I think you did it well. Yeah, so at least someone can see themselves in at least one of the characters. And I'm looking forward to seeing, because you said there's going to be 12 people.
In the next episode, yeah. So
Yeah.
the next episode features a Zoom call, like a company-wide Zoom call with the company that Jesse owns and Dave works at.
Okay.
So that'll feature Erin, who plays Jesse, centering the call, doing her whole bit with a kind of prog rocky vibe to the song, which is great fun to record, I got to tell you. And then but then we're gonna have the 12 other people who are the choir, all doing their bit.
That's cool.
And artistic representations of delay and things dropping out and technical difficulties and just like part of the song, for instance, is a round where people are singing the same part like over each other in different parts, and it was a lot of fun trying to write stuff like that to try and be like, oh yeah, how do we artistically represent all that shit that goes wrong at meetings?
Right. So much lag, and like I find it a little bit tricky with the podcast doing it over Zoom, because like it's sometimes like, oh sorry, you go, oh sorry.
We've had
we're accidentally talking over one another, just not realizing someone already started.
That's been brutal for us for running the scripts, because I mean, built into the system is the lag. At some point there's a back and forth. So if we're doing a shot reverse shot, like the first one of the scene where it's cutting back and forth between two people, I can fix it in the editing room. But when it's the four of us just on screen simultaneously, it's just there, right? And we're all deliberately trying to like deliver our lines just a split second early to make up for it. But like there's only so much that you can do. So there's lots of places where the lag is there and it's like, yeah, well, that's realism for you.
Yeah,
realism is boring and no one wants to see it, but here it is. So
we wanted to create like a little segment on the podcast called "So You Think You're a Lyricist." When we have so essentially we play the same 4 chords over and over again, or create a beat, and someone either has to rap or to make up lyrics on the spot and sing. We tried to do that over Zoom and it went okay.
I'm surprised by that.
Yeah, it wasn't the worst, but I'd love to do it in person. But yeah, just like one of those things where you're just like, I wish I could do this, because I think it would be really fun.
We've definitely tried singing, like specifically I'm thinking for the song that's coming up in episode number 2, where like Cullam was playing it and like Erin, who plays Jesse, was singing it, and for whatever reason it was like we would hear Jesse and then hear the actual recording. Jesse might have been playing it from her computer, but like even though they were coming from the same source, still like half a second off, and it's like, I'm sorry guys, I'm just hitting mute for the next minute and a half, because nope. It's such a frustrating thing.
Well, so a really lucky job I had back in high school. I say lucky because it helped me buy one of my fancy keyboards I bought as a teenager that I then got to keep until it died. So good thing to do. Buy gear when you're still living at home and you don't have any other bills. You can spend all your money on gear and then just like use that gear for a decade after that. That's the right way to. Good advice, kids. If you're going to be a musician, buy your expensive gear early. Anyway, so a job that I had really, really early on in some of the early advanced tech of the internet was at melodus.com, which was an online jamming site where you get to play with people online through MIDI, which meant that the sound was very, very small. You could actually sort of do it. And even then it didn't quite work. Like the delay was there. There was just a little bit of delay, not much, but just enough to fuck you up. And so like literally my job was, because they were launching this website, but the network effect of, if you don't have people on it, what's the point? So our job was literally just to hang out and be on the website. So someone showed up, there was someone else there they could jam with. We could also do very, very basic technical support, but mostly we'd pass them off to tech support if they had any real problems. But like, to be obvious, oh yeah, you don't have your MIDI turned on in the right place, here it is. We do that sort of stuff. But like, it was great. At the time I was 17, I was getting ready to audition for music school. So I was just sitting there practicing, which is what I'll be doing anyway, being paid like $15 an hour. Back when minimum wage was like $5 an hour, to just sit there and practice. And every now and then, like, oh, there's someone here. Hey, what's up? And then like play with them in a kind of delayed, not quite working fashion for like
Yeah.
5 minutes, and they'd go on their way, and I go back to practicing. So yeah, we've been trying to deal with this problem for a long time, and the internet is just still not fast enough.
Yeah, I'm moving away from my band, and a bunch of people were like, just do it over Zoom. I'm like,
no. You don't know anything about music, do you?
I mean,
I'd have
Zoom
to
is
start
bad enough.
singing like 2 seconds before the chord was played.
Yeah. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
And the lag is definitely consistent, right? It's always going to be 2 seconds. You don't have to worry about like, is it going to speed up and slow down? No, of course not.
And you never actually need to listen to what your bandmates are doing.
No.
You work independently.
Yeah.
Well, if you're a singer, yeah.
Well, obviously, but everyone else.
I'm driving down like every 3 weeks, so we're gonna practice less often, but we're still gonna practice together as a band.
That's good.
And I'm just gonna practice at home because I don't want to quit the band because I love the guys and I love the music. And
I mean, one of my bands is like that. We only play together every like 2 years when we all get together.
Oh my god. Yeah.
But we do every once in a while. Like we've done at least one thing since all this happened. It's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
We're doing everything remotely anyway, so you guys are just as close as the people who live in the same city as me. Here, I'll send out a piano track. You guys send me a drum track. See what happens.
Yeah. Man, like I'm doing a lot of the recording from home. Like I'll do my vocal stuff from here. Like I have it all set up, all soundproofed and stuff.
Can't appreciate. I've got my piles of organs and keyboards that are sitting out here.
I don't really want to like show you around the room too much because of the mess from all the stage stuff or like the stuff from different rooms that's being stored. I'm trying to sell some stuff also. We're in the process of doing that. It's just it's a mess. It's a mess right now. So how can we follow you guys?
Daystreamer is it's the term in most places. So that's us on Instagram, on Facebook, on Patreon if people really like what they're seeing and want to make sure that it keeps happening. We don't actually really use Twitter for things because it's mostly used for being angry about politics, and we're like, we say some F-bombs. What if people get angry at us or for stupid stuff?
Don't get canceled, Cullam.
I know.
Yeah.
So but we're on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube is the big one because that's where we actually air the episodes.
Yeah. And that's on your own personal channel, Cullam?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. We have 3 patrons now.
That's awesome.
That's right.
That's awesome. I didn't know you had a Patreon until now.
For being like what 5 hours into our first of day 1, I'll take that. That's not bad.
They just joined after the first episode.
We got our first patron yesterday.
Oh, amazing! That's really cool.
It was Cullam's dad.
But we've got more since then.
We have more, which is actually very nice.
Means I have to do some real quick technical work to be like, oh crap, we're releasing a day early for patrons. So
audience, definitely check out their Patreon. And just type in Daystreamer. That's a very inventive name. It was a
I spent a lot of time debating what the name should be.
Oh man, did we ever.
Yeah.
The funny part, we had the tag right away. It's a physically distant musical because like you have to know what it is. But we also wanted like a single word to be like, great. Now when you're shorthanding it, just word. Yeah. And it had to be unique enough that it wasn't used everywhere.
Yeah.
It's not that's like literally never used. Like daystreamer.com was taken, but there's no website at that address.
I know. I hate that when it's like, you took it, but you're not using it.
So
like, can I use it?
Yeah, exactly. Our website is daystreamer.net because close enough.
Okay.
There's theoretically a band called Daystreamer somewhere who hasn't posted anything on Facebook in like 4 years. So it was clearly it was an available name.
It's up for grabs at that point.
And it just it fell about right for the pun on daydreamer for someone who wishes they were a musician but gave it up, as well as the fact that many of the people in the show are streaming and trying to like keep music alive for themselves that way, as many of us are trying to do.
Yeah. Do you guys do any sort of like Twitch streaming or anything like that?
I have not.
Yeah.
Okay. No.
So part of our Patreon is that one of the rewards we have is like we will have live streamed concerts. where Cullam did one of these over the pandemic, which ironically, my partner and I were watching live in person in the same house, like 8 feet away.
Hello, buddies.
But yeah, that is actually one of the rewards for our Patreon is you can get access to our live concerts where all of us are going to, sing character appropriate songs. And that will happen every couple of months.
Yeah. And to be clear, these will be like show tune songs because this is a musical. This is a musical theater.
Yeah. Stick with
So we'll get together and have like, all right, what songs would Charlie sing? What songs would Dave sing? And they're all going to do a bit of live musical theater. Luckily, both Annalise and I play piano, so we can, between the two of us, we can accompany everyone.
Yeah. The scarier one is that another one of our Patreon awards is that you get to request request songs on Alexandra's live stream, which means right now there's potentially up to 3 people making requests, and I really hope that they are kind. Request things I can actually somewhat do. We'll see. They might get dog in the background. We have our 1-year-old dog Bender who loves to sing along while I sing. So we'll see how this goes.
Is it Bender name after Futurama?
Yeah. Awesome. And also somewhat Avatar: The Last Airbender. We almost named him Appa, but it's those 2 things. Yeah.
Nice. Very cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Appa would have been a good name for him.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we didn't get to play a lot of the games, but I think this was more suitable, like to talk about your creative process. Yeah, I think we're gonna wrap it up now. So we can reach you through YouTube. You have an Instagram, right?
Yes.
Yes.
We are on Instagram. Instagram/Daystreamer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll put that all in the show notes.
Facebook/Daystreamer. It's
Yep.
Facebook, it might be Daystreamer Musical. I have to double check on that.
Okay. Send that to me after.
I'll give you the right links to put in the notes.
Awesome. So all that will be in the show notes, and how to reach them and everything like that. So yeah, follow these guys. Are very talented. Very good first episode. I'll put that first episode on the show notes too, so you guys can check it out. Thank you, Cullam and Annalise, for your time, and it was a pleasure.
Thanks so much.
This was great fun.
All right, thanks.
Sociable. How have you been? What's all the news? I've been stuck at home with no one to talk to. So glad you're okay. I guess I am too. Let's forget it all and throw back a few. So I just wanted to moan, 'cause I've been stuck at home and I might explode. Days watching business decay, keeping lenders at bay with the staff to pay. Years building this business, but now it's all up in the air. Nothing I could do, but the bills are due. It seems unfair. How have you been? What's all the news? Guess that's kinda rough what you're going through. But still you're okay. Got lots to do. I am sure they all appreciate you. I'm starting to panic about money. I've lost every geek in 2020. The feds are easing the transition, but this might be the end for all musicians. Some might live stream the summer, but who wants to hear a solo drummer? Our industry was in its death throes, but I was surviving, recording demos, performing live shows, working in studios. How have you been? What's all the news? I'm so sorry that you're getting screwed. It's brutal today, tomorrow is new. Hope you know that we're all rooting for you.
15 years I've been grinding for my wages. Worldwide panic's the most relaxed I've felt in ages. Never thought I'd get to take a long vacation. Pundits yell, but fuck the condemnation. Maybe this could be the new way, as robots get cheaper every day. Cover our basic needs and leave me time to read.
How have you been? What's all the news? I'll admit I've nearly run out of booze. No shower for days, smell like a zoo. Binged another classic 90s cartoon.
Born alone, still a dreary job. Why can't I muster the will to make a change? Start a project, maybe I'm my own limitation. Why bother? Help me drown out my doubts, please, my friends. I'm trapped in my head. How have you been? What's all the news? It's so nice to catch up with all the geeks. How have you been? What's all the news? It's so nice to catch up with all the geeks. How have you been? What's all the news? It's so nice to catch up with all of you. How have you been? What's all the news? It's so nice to catch up with all of you.